So the subject for today's live stream was requested by Jennifer. She posted an inspiration picture here, and the idea here is to create like a background text on this shape. And I think this is a cool idea, and I wanted to explore it in this live stream. So we'll take this as inspiration, but I think, this file is from the Weather Peach. They have an Etsy store, and I won't copy it exactly. I will use it as a sort of inspiration to do our thing. I think there's a lot to explore with text as a decoration, and I want to show you kind of like some tricks and ideas that I have that can take it a little bit beyond these. So I might go a little bit faster with the kind of ornament setup because I want to kind of focus on the kind of background pattern. So I'm going to start with a blank project over here. And I think the pattern we've seen in the past is that I usually start with a shape. And I tend to name that component the shape because we're going to be reusing it in different ways. So I'm going to name it here. I'm going to call it the shape. And I'm going to start with a heart because I guess the idea with this one is a little bit Valentine's. So I'm going to place the heart right on the center of the canvas. And I want to start with a rough shape of what I want the final thing to be. So I'm going to scale it to about 3 inches. So that would be my basic shape. And so we're going to be reusing it in different ways. So let's kind of dive into the background aspects of it. So I think I want to create another component, and I'm going to call that one the background. And so I'm going to place my shape component into this one to use as a reference initially. And so I'm going to put it there. And we want to start with some text. If I look at the inspiration here, you'll see that the text is like kind of like a handwritten font. And I want to use something like that. So because I'm doing that, I'm going to use the connected text. In this case, the connected text is not like strictly necessary, but I think those tend to look nice with the handwritten fonts. So I'm going to go search for connected text. And I'm actually going to place it over here on the side because like I want to be able to repeat this connected text to create the message that I want. So I'm going to start with something simple. Like I'm going to type my heart. I'm going to change the font. I found this font called, in the handwriting section, I found one called Cookie. That it's a little serious, but it should do. I'm going to make the size a bit smaller. Let's call it 30 points. And so what I want to do here is repeat these particular text. Let's treat it as an engraved. So for now, I'm going to change the fill to this pink. And maybe I don't want the stroke. So, all right. So here, a quick explanation of what I'm about to do. There is this modifier called tile repeat. And so what I want to do is be able to repeat these across. So I'm going to select the text and apply the modifier. Is here in the modify menu, and is the tile repeat one. And so this one is called tile repeat because it creates repetitions horizontally and then vertically. I think looking at it with text it's a little bit confusing. So I think I want to explain it with an actual tile, which is like a rectangle tile. So I'm just going to do it down here so you can like follow. So I'm going to grab a rectangle, place it here, and I'm going to apply the same tile repeat. Just as a quick explanation. So here we go. Let's move it up. So as you can see, it takes the base shape that I got, the rectangle, and it repeats it. But like we have a number of things that we can control with this tile repeat. So the most obvious one perhaps is to repeat we can control the repetitions. So when I select tile repeat here, I get this menu, these options basically. And so let's look at the repetitions. If I do this one, you'll see that it repeats 3 times horizontally or, as many times as I want. And then with this one, I can control the vertical repetitions. So that one is kind of fairly easy to understand. the number of repetitions. The other two are interesting to me because they can be controlled in this way. So as you can see, the origin point of the tile has these handles. And these handles, if I hover over them, I get what they are controlling. So there is this displacement. So check this out. This one highlights the first displacement, and this one highlights the second displacement. So we can control the displacement with the handles if we grab them and move them. So as you can see right now, the displacement is bigger in the horizontal axis. Another way to control the displacement is to change these numbers, which is kind of like more fine control. When I move the handles, you'll see that the position, let me get back to that. The position changes in any direction that I want. But if I change just the numbers, I can be more precise. I can be like horizontal and vertical for that displacement. And then I get a second displacement, which is this one, this handle. So as you can see, I can get many sort of variations and a lot of like fine control over how I do the repeat. Anyway, so I think this is easier to see if you have a tile. But now let's apply it to the text. So what I wanted to explain is that what I want to do with the text is I don't want these very sort of even repeat like a sort of square grid. I wanna have something that is like creates a sort of diagonal like so. So the text is repeated a little bit diagonally. And then there's this additional trick, which is like when you apply this kind of diagonal on this side, there's an option here called zigzag, which essentially if you repeat these very long, then you get this like very long kind of diagonal going, in the direction that you pointed this handle. But sometimes you actually want to fill an area. And so if you apply this zigzag option, you'll see that it applies, it sort of goes like this. It goes like, left and right, left and right, left and right. So that one is kind of useful for when you want to fill an area and get this kind of overlapping break. So with that explanation out of the way, let's apply the same concept to the text. I'm going to delete that example. So let's go back to the text. So here it's going to be very similar to what I just did, but like with the text, we get these handles again, and then I want to move them out a little bit. I'm going to do it with these numbers. So I want to move it this way. I want these to be like a sort of zigzag, like so. And let's say something like that. And then initially, I just want to kind of like fill the whole area. So the whole area of the shape. So I'm going to increase the number of repetitions a little bit past what it is. And then I'm going to increase the number of these. And here I'm going to apply that trick I just mentioned, the zigzag option, where like, this is fine actually. The way it is fine. But if I apply it, then I just kind of get a sort of even distribution here. So let's move it over here. All right. So this is the basic operation that we want. We want to have this text. We want to be able to change it, and we want it to fit just inside of the shape that we selected. So let's deal with the ability to change it. So we've done this in the past, but I'm gonna select the connected text, and I want this text. I want it to be some other text, and I want to extract that parameter. So I'm gonna click the three dots, extract the parameter. I'm gonna call it the background text to be clear, and then I'm gonna move that parameter to the project. So now if I change that, if I change it to something like you are my heart, so it is working in that I can change things. Let's see, heart, I can add some dots because I need to add spaces in the dots. So the first kind of thing that we're running into here is that if the text is too long, we want to be able to adjust it. So I think this one looks okay, but I would like to make it tighter, or if I type something longer, like you are my heart, I don't want that to overlap. So I want a certain amount of control. So I can actually go to this tile repeat, and then there's displacement on the x-axis. So sometimes I want to be able to stretch that or want to be able to make it shorter. And I think for now, For now, I'm just gonna do this horizontal displacement. So I'm gonna create a new parameter. I guess I'm gonna call it horizontal space. And I want to be able to plug this horizontal space into where that number needs to change. So I'm just going to type it here, horizontal space. And now it's 0, but I want it to be a bit more. So let's something like that. No, it's not enough. So okay, so now if I type heart and then some dots with spaces, then I'm able to adjust it like so. And if I tap my heart, I'm able to adjust it like so. So I think that's just about the amount of adjustment that I want. Right, so now how do we get the text to only exist within the shape? So I think there are two options, but I'm going to advocate for the second option. The first one is the sort of obvious one, which is we want to intersect the shape with the text. So if I select the shape and the text together, I can apply this one called Boolean intersect. And so this one will work. It has a slight downside. I think this one will work if you want to engrave your text, but the slight downside is that if you're scoring your text, you're going to get these like additional lines. So let me zoom in and show you. So see how there are like these additional lines of the text right on the edges of the shape. It's not the end of the world, but they can just create like a little imperfection once we cut or shape. So these will work, and this is what I saw suggested in the comments, but I'm going to advocate for a different one. So let me delete this Boolean intersect. It's going to delete it straight up, and I'm going to apply another one called mask. So I'm going to select both the heart and the text, and there is the one down here called mask. So this one uses the shape as a mask. And if you get this result I just got, is because it's using the text as the mask. So it's essentially whatever is within the text, whatever section of the heart is within the text is the thing we're getting as a result. So we want to change the order of operations. We want to use the shape as the mask. So I'm going to just move these down. So I change the order of things. So now I get the shape to mask the text. And this one didn't change the color like the other one, but like if I were to go and change this background text, let's say I want to score it, which might be faster. If I change these to have a stroke value and not a fill, here we can see, if I zoom in, you'll see how there are no additional lines here where the text meets the shape. So anyway, that was a long way to say that I advocate for using the mask in this particular case, because you might be scoring the text. But let's go back to the example where we are engraving the text. And so I think this is very close. Like we got the text. The next thing we want on this particular one is another layer of text on top. And so I'm going to create another component. So I'm going to go to the plus here, add a component, and let's see. I think I want to create, I want to use the shape just as a reference. I'm going to turn it into a guide. And then I'm going to use connected text again, because we want that chunk of text to be cut in a single piece, so we don't have to assemble it in any way. I think I like the vertical. With hearts, I like it at the baseline, so it's like over there. Let's see. We want these to be like a name. I'm going to type something like this. And I think we want to be able to adjust the size of that name. And yeah. So I'm just gonna extract these as parameters. I'm gonna click on the three dots, edit expression. Oops, sorry, no, wrong. I want to click on the three dots here and extract as parameter. And this is the front text. and we're just gonna move it to the project. And I actually just wanna change the front text size. So I can extract the size as a parameter, move it to the project, and now I can just change that size. I just wanted to like control it myself. So I think these are the elements that we want. We have the shape, we have the background, and we have the front text. Now I can start sort of put them together in the different ways that I need to put them together. So I'm going to create another component that I'm going to call the preview. So the preview is going to contain the shape, because we're going to be cutting that. That's an operation that we need to do. Then it's going to have the background. That's another laser cutting operation. We're going to be engraving that. And then we're going to have the name right on top. And I call it the preview because I want to give that name a fill. Let's make it blue so it's very visible. So I can see what things look like. And you know, this is very close. Like if I were to present it as a template, I could go to the README, add that component that I call the preview. And right now I can control things, heart or love. I can change that horizontal spacing. I guess when we do that, I'm gonna have to add more repetitions here just to, let's say if it's a very short word, yeah, sometimes you have to kind of fix things on the run. So I'm gonna add more repetitions on this side just to account for short words. So we got that. We can type a different name. I wanted to do something like my name. I can adjust the size of that. So things are working. So the next thing I wanna do is create the cut. So I'm gonna go fast with this particular one because it's kind of similar to things we've done in the past. But I also want to explore other options of like playing around with the background. So let's go back to this view and let's create another component. So I want to call that you know, something that we do often is that we create like, it's not going to be the cut yet. I'm going to call this one the base layer. So the base layer looks like this. It has a shape. That shape, I want it to be red for the cut. That shape has the background, and then the shape is going to have the name. So I'm going to place the name. But something that we do often is that we create like a score where the name is going to be glued, and we inset it a little bit. So when you glue the name, then it gets placed right there. So what I mean by that is that, you know, let's say I have my name as a separate piece. Let's give it a fill. So when I'm gluing it, when I'm assembling things, I kind of want to know where I need to place it. So I want like a score right here. Let's make this into a blue score. That is just a little bit like inset, so I can just use it as a guide, but it disappears once I put the other shape on. So I'm gonna select that one and I'm gonna apply this contract. So we can change the distance that it contracts by. So it needs to be just really tiny, actually. Like even, yeah, that's sufficient. So if it's that small, when I have my separate piece to cut it, I can just place it, and it's gonna kind of serve me as a guide, but it's gonna be hidden with the top piece. Okay, so that is the base layer. And then finally, I just want to have the cut, where I have the two layers. So I'm gonna create a new component. I'm gonna call that one the cut. And so we're gonna use our old friend auto layout. So I need to search for auto layout. And so I'm gonna place that here in the center. And so in auto layout, I can literally type the names of components I've created over here where the pieces are. So I can type, I know I want to cut the base layer. So it's right there. I can just click on it. Then I'm going to separate it with a comma. And then I want to add the name. should give the name a name. Let's call it the front text. Front text. Okay, let's go back to the cut. So auto layout, and I want to add the front text. Which one? This one. And yeah, so now there are two pieces. The convenience of the auto layout is that if anything changes sizes or shapes, then it's just gonna adjust it without overlapping. And I probably want this name to be also a cut. Actually, black is fine. Yeah, this is fine. All right, I think this is very close. I think the next thing I want to do is that I think something that we could do with this background is, you know, an adjustment that I would like is the rotation, because sometimes you can add like a little designy element. So if I select this connected text and I go to the transformations here, if I add a little rotation, notice how it adds kind of like some interest to, you know, I think it could be an interesting look to have like control over your rotation. So I can actually just expose that as a parameter, so it's easy to adjust. So let's try it. So I change this section here, and this is the rotation. I could just extract it. So I'm going to click on the three dots, extract as parameter, and I'm just going to move it to a project. So to be specific, I'm going to call it the background. Names can get long. Text rotation. Angle. And I can organize these things. I'm going to put this one over here. Let's call it just text angle. Cool. So if I look at the README, I can add something like you are my heart, which is really long, but since I can adjust the spacing, I can get it to a place where it's readable. I hope so. Maybe I went too long with that. Or I can change the angle. Let's return the angle to 0. Oh yeah, so if I return the angle to 0, then I create the spacing that I want. You're my heart. Then I could like add a tiny bit of rotation. Oh, I see. Yeah, the problem with the rotation in this case is that you get these long letters to like hit each other. But I think this is a nice level of control. Just the rotation and the horizontal space. Let's see. If we look at the initial inspiration, it said, "Ma'am, love you, ma'am." So let's see if I can replicate that one. So it could be something like love you. This one has dots, so I'm going to add dots with spaces. So I think this one would have no rotation, and then the horizontal spacing would be adjusted. Yeah, so I think sometimes with the templates, it's nice to have like just the right amount of control that you're giving the user, that you're providing yourself. Last touch here would be to create the component that's the cut. So whenever someone downloads this file, they can simply hit download SVG, and they're going to get this version, the one that has the little arrow at the bottom, and they're going to be able to see the preview of the changes. I think the last element that Jennifer mentioned here, by the way, thank you Jennifer for sending the inspiration, is that she wanted to say change the shape. And since we created the whole architecture of the template based on the components, then we can change the shape easily and it should update everything. And so what I mean by that is I can go to the shape component, and if I just simply hide the heart, I don't have to delete it. I can just grab any other shape. Let's try a circle. And I was going roughly with the 3-inch size. So because I was using that here in the background, here in the preview, and the base layer and the cut, then I get, I get the circle, I get all the operations for free after I've created this sort of architecture of this template or this project. And then, of course, we can do different shapes. The nice thing is also that, like, let's say we have the heart, and this heart shape in Cuttle has these options. Like, you can make it like a little bit more plump. You can give it a little tilt. I think it's kind of cute. And then those changes will also be reflected in all the other operations we created. So like our preview is going to have that tilt and that plumpness. And so we have like, a lot of design freedom once we've created these things. I think maybe in the last 5 minutes, something that I've been showing people how to do is how to be able to select different shapes. And I think we can do these with this particular one. So I created a circle and a heart. I guess Jennifer also mentioned like a square just to see, or a rectangle to see what things look like. So I'm going to place a rectangle. Let's make it 3 inches. So if I hide that, let's make sure things are working. Let's hide the heart. So yeah, we get the rectangle. I get the feeling that I'm not finishing. I'm not like, this template is not super polished, but I wanted to show you like the possibilities of like playing around with this background text decoration. And I think I kind of try to make it minimal. I'm of course going to publish this kind of starter project, and you can like take it somewhere else. You can take it to, to fulfill your needs. I think some things that would be nice to add, for example, would be like the ability to easily change the font for the background, or the font from the front text, and all those operations you can do by extracting those parameters. But the last thing I wanted to show you was just really quickly, let's say we want to have like a shape selection. So we can create this parameter, and we change that parameter. We can call it the shape select. And we just need to change that parameter to be of type select. So then we get this little box, and then we can type all the different options. So we have a heart, we have a square, we have a circle. So we can set the options, and now we have this sort of selectable thing here. And so what we want to do is make this selectable thing change the visibility of the shapes. So if we go back to the shape parameter, the visibility can be affected by using, I'm going to make them all visible for now. So we can use this modifier, is one of the advanced ones down at the bottom here. So it's all the way at the bottom in the advanced section, and it says visible. So that kind of gives us this like checkbox that will, show or hide that particular shape that we applied the modifier to. So I'm going to apply the modifier to all of those, to the 3 of those. And so now the thing I need to change to make the shape selection correspond to this visible modifier is that I need to kind of create write a test. So I want to be able to say something like, hey, I'm going to edit this expression. So if I want to say, hey, if shape select, this one is the, what do you call it? The circle. Then this would become true if I have the circle selected here. So it's going to show the circle. So I sort of have to write the same thing in each one of the expressions. So if shape select is, in this case, I have to use the little quotation marks. What did I call it? Rectangle or square? Call it square. If it's the square, then show me the square. And if it's the heart, finally, let's modify that one. If shape select is heart, then show me the heart. Cool. So now I get this kind of selection, which is kind of neat. And now I can select the shape. So a square, a heart, or a circle. All right, cool. So that's the end of the first live stream of the year. Thank you very much for coming. I'll be publishing this template and this video on YouTube for sharing. So yeah, stay safe out there, and I will see you in the next one.